We're standing in the epicenter of the ghost town of Etna, a turpentine camp that was recently discovered in the 1990s by a survey crew. And apparently for the previous 70 some odd years, 80 years, it was, I want to say undiscovered. People that worked here knew about it, and maybe some hunters knew about it, but the general public didn't know anything about it. This is the only turpentine camp in the world which is on the National Register of Historic Places. This is the kiln area. We call this the kiln for obvious reasons. This is where the turpentine was brought to be heated and boiled down and distilled, the sap was brought to be distilled into turpentine. Turpentine is a derivative of pine tree sap. So this camp, as you can look out here, this is all that's left of it basically now. I'm sure there's a cemetery or two out here. There's remains of cabins. There are some chimney remains, fragments of bricks throughout, etc. But when the archaeologists came in the 90s at the behest of the surveyors, I guess the state, whomever was doing the survey, they took and cataloged, they removed and cataloged over 200 artifacts. So basically, you know, in common vernacular, all the good stuff is gone. Except for, I don't know if they didn't find it or they just recently found it or what, but except for that kiln. Here is an old, to the naked eye, just a pit in the ground. I'm guessing this is a vat. This is either a precursor to heating up the, which we've seen before in turpentine camps. We've seen these vats that are brick lined and used for heating up the sap and distilling it. And this may have been a precursor to the kiln, and they may have decided just to make a more permanent, situation, and and created that, and moved their operation over there. In fact, they may have used the bricks from the hole here to make this. I don't know, and we'll never know. There's no, the history on this is very, very sparse at best. So. We're standing just in, like I said, the epicenter. This is where, for miles around, the camp was pretty spread out, the town, if you will. It was at one point on the maps of Florida in the early 20th century. The town was fairly spread out. There were over 200 people here at any one time living, which means there would have been, a couple of thousand at least over 25-year, 30-year period. This camp was started in the late 19th century and abandoned and petered out simply because they deforested everything in the early 20th century. It's a very, very good sized camp. There's a lot of dense underbrush here. You're never going to find everything unless you remove all the underbrush. The forests around here for miles and miles and miles would have provided the sap, the raw product for the turpentine, and crews would have gone out exploring maybe for days. I mean, just going out and cutting. There would have been a crew to go out and cut the slices into the trees, which we call cat-face trees for obvious reasons, because the way the slices are made. Cups are then inserted beneath the slices over a period of time, and I don't know how long. The sap would have leaked into the cups, and then crews eventually, after a certain amount of time, would have gone back to those locations and picked up the raw sap and brought it out here. This would have been hot, dirty, hard, miserable labor. I mean, I'm sure even middle management and upper management would have been, taxed to their limits. But the people who did the actual work were either convicts or black men. And that's because, well, convicts for obvious reasons, and black men because no one else would do the work. No one else wanted to be involved in this incredibly hot, hard labor. But they were willing to do it for what I'm sure would have been a meager wage. My understanding also that the company that owned these areas paid in scrip, which is basically cash that is only good at their store. So it would have been indentured servitude. I'm not going to call it slavery because slavery has an entirely different connotation. Chattel slavery is completely. It certainly would have been an indenturehood. You would have wound up spending all your time here. You couldn't take the money anywhere else. So it would have been a miserable existence for everyone. But again, the people putting up the money, the people with the management people, they would have made a lot of money. They would have done really well. So anyway, this is just an exciting, extraordinary find. Doesn't look like much to the naked eye, but to someone like me, this is like finding Blackbeard's treasure. Incredible sight. We're not going to try to go the length and width and breadth of the entire camp. We'll never find it all. So we're just going to finish up back over here by the kiln. Give one more good view of the kiln. Lots of rosin balls around. Would have been a byproduct of the turpentine. And here we have the kiln again. So fascinating. Incredible structure for the time. This is what brought me out here. I've known about Etna for years. It's just, I was always under the impression that everything has been plundered. I know a lot of people have come out here that just regular Joe people and have taken things that, you know, souvenirs. You get enough people taking the souvenir, you don't really have much anymore. But this is left. So this is, I saw a photograph of this from a guy that I know, and I was just astonished and I had to see it. So we're here. And for now, we're going to head out and conquer some other territories, or at least explore them anyway.